This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrux.
Welcome back to Maximum Lawyer. I am going to talk about this conversation I had this morning with my trainer. That's what I want to talk about. I had a few topics that I really wanted to talk about, but the one this morning, it was really kind of interesting. We were doing the regular workouts. We were talking about goals and expectations and everything. And at some point he said something that was like really simple, but the moment he said it, I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was like, I was just thinking in my head, I'm thinking, I got to talk about this today. So he said, at some point you've got to release the dog. And I was like, oh my gosh. What he's talking about is like there's this version of you that it works harder than you normally do. Okay. It's more focused at this point. It's more disciplined, more relentless. You should have more resolve. And I think that most people really never let that version out. They keep it sort of bottled up. They're playing it safe all the time. They stay comfortable. And I think that a big part of that is because that's what lawyers are. Like they can be very risk averse. But because of that, they never actually find out what they're capable of. That's what bothers me. So let me dig a little bit deeper into this. When I talk about releasing the dog, it's not really about like chaos, like just kind of like, going crazy. It's not about burning yourself out. It's not about working yourself into the ground forever. That's not what I'm talking about. It's really more about intensity, the energy level, and applying it at the right time. That's what we're talking about. And it's also kind of like about recognizing that there are seasons in your life where the average effort is not enough. It's not going to be good enough. And what you have to do in those seasons is you have to flip the switch on. Okay. Turn the switch on. It's a temporary switch. You don't leave your light switch on all the time. At some point you turn it back off. But you got to flip the switch. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that law firm owners make. They try to balance everything, especially too early. Okay, especially too early. You're trying to have this work-life balance. They want the lifestyle before they built the machine that produces the lifestyle. Right? That's the lesson. They think that they deserve and earn the lifestyle at the beginning before putting in the work. They want that flexibility before they've even created any leverage. Right? Building your law firm is leverage. That's what you're doing. They want the freedom before they've really earned that freedom. If you're not outworking your employees early, then you've not earned the freedom. I'm sorry. You just haven't. I get it though. I've made all these mistakes. I completely understand. Balance sounds like a wonderful thing, but there's a problem with it. If you try to spread your effort evenly across everything, okay, you end up being average at everything. That's what happens. Okay. And I don't think we're all shooting for average. I think we're shooting for something a little bit better. And average also doesn't build anything meaningful. It doesn't. Average is average for a reason. Okay. It's average. And so you have to accept at some point that if you really do want some of those successes, that there are going to be these seasons in your life where you need to go all in. You got to push the chips in. If you're a poker player, I'm not, but I understand the idea of pushing the chips in. During these times, you have to work harder than feels comfortable, right? So comfort, you got to step outside of that comfort zone. You also, during this time, though, you have to be more disciplined than you've ever been. That means not watching that extra show. That means maybe staying up a little bit later than what you want to, but that also means you got to be disciplined enough to get up early in the morning. You also have to say no to things that you'd rather say yes to. You know what I mean? That guy's trip or that ladies trip that you really want to go to. You might have to say no to that during this season, right? During this season. And that's the part that a lot of people avoid because it's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. It forces you to confront what you're actually capable of, right? Think about that for a second. It forces you to actually confront the fact that you can step outside of being average and actually be capable of so much more. It forces you to confront that. And on that, you will have these forces that kind of want to drag you back into average, right? Because the average person's average. They want to drag you back in, and you have to fight back on that. There's this quote that I've always liked. The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Okay. And I think there's a really big reason for that. It's because people never test themselves. They never push. They never find out where their limits really are. So they just settle. I've seen it in every aspect of my life that I've ever been to. In the Army, when I was in the Army, as a young lawyer, it's whenever I was working at State Farm years ago, I've seen it in every aspect. I see it now when it comes to other law firm owners. That's what it is. They just settle. Before I move on, okay, this is going to be a hard segue, so just bear with me for a second. I'm going to take that opportunity for a second to remind everyone, let everyone know, I guess, MaxLawCon tickets are on sale now. Okay. I told you it's going to be a really hard transition. I will go back into what I was talking about. But I do want to make sure that I address this because a lot of the things that I'm talking about here, you can actually help work on at MaxLawCon 2026. It's going to be in Atlanta this year in October. Would love to see everyone there. Tickets are on sale. We have short ticket windows. We're short release windows this year, so they will not be on sale for very, very much longer. We will only have one window after this, I think, which prices go up every window. So you have a limited amount of time to get it at the lower price. So make sure you get those now. MaxLawCon.com. All right, let me go back into take another hard segue back into what I was talking about because I want to be clear about something. This isn't about like going hard forever, and this isn't about hustle culture. That's not what this is. I think that's where people do go wrong. But it is about understanding the different seasons of our lives. There's a build season, there's a stabilize season, there's a maintain season. And I think most people try to live in the maintenance mode before they've built anything. Okay. You have to build something worth maintaining and then maintain it. You have to build something worth maintaining, then maintain it. If you are in build phase right now, which many people are, I know that it's funny. We are in build phase really, really strong. I kind of thought we were coming out of build phase, and then AI has made so many changes that we are able to. I talked about this before. I talked about it with Jeremy Danielson, and I talked about this yesterday. You're only limited by your imagination at this point. You really are. The people that have the people that have the imagination, the imaginers, I don't know if that's a word, but the people that have the great imagination that have not been able to build the things that they really have had in their heads, now's our season. Okay, so we're building. But if you're in build phase right now, you should feel some pressure. You should feel stretched. You should feel like you're operating at a higher level than you're used to. Okay, that's the signal that you're doing it right. Congratulations, you're doing it right. If you're in the build season, okay. If you're not, okay. So let's talk about the alternative. What happens if you don't release the dog? Okay, you're staying comfortable. You keep doing things that you've always done. You avoid doing the hard things, the working on the firm things as opposed to working in the firm things, even though the working in the firm things are the handcuffs that keep you there. And on the surface, it all feels just fine. But over time, it's going to compound. Your growth is going to start to slow. Opportunities are going to pass you by. And your firm is really going to stagnate. It's never going to quite get to where you want it to be. It's just the reality of it. Okay. And if you're starting to feel that little bit of a feeling in your stomach right now, like, oh, he's saying something that I think it's talking to me. I think he's talking to me. Good. You should feel that right now. I've talked about this before. The portal is closing when it comes to AI. The portal, it's closing. It's open right now, but every day it's closing. And I want to get you on the other side of that. I don't want you to be uncomfortable. Most of you, I don't want you to be comfortable right now. You know your seasons better than I do. But most of you, I don't want you comfortable right now. I want you building because I want to get you on the other side of that portal. Because if you don't get your firm to where it needs to be, you're going to end up working longer. Okay. I think for some of us, we're going to end up being outside of a career because it's going to be gobbled up by AI. And I don't want that for you. But that will only because you never built those systems. You never built that momentum. You never built that leverage that I was talking about. And you need that leverage to get out of it. AI is the leverage that many of us have been looking for. That leverage is so important. So the thing that many people were trying to avoid, the hard work, you actually create more of it long term whenever you don't do those things early on. It's a very, very difficult thing to swallow, I think, for many people later on in their careers whenever they have not done that. And you end up doing more of that work just at a lower level and for a longer period of time. Don't want that for you. I think the stories, and I've heard all them all, but there's a lot of lies that people tell themselves to justify staying comfortable. I don't have time. I got to have the balance. Got to have the work-life balance. I think work-life balance was the biggest lie that people sold to us. I think that is the biggest lie. There is, at times, work-life balance that you can have for sure, but it's not a constant thing. It's kind of like happiness. Like happiness is not a destination. It's something that happens from time to time. You will have sadness at times too. That's also not a destination. You will have anger at times, not a destination. It's a state of mind. That's a short amount of time. Work-life balance is no different. Okay. So don't tell yourself, I'll just do it later. Don't tell yourself that you need that balance. Maybe in that season, okay, great, I'll accept that, but not permanently. And don't tell yourself you don't have time. Okay, you have time. As someone that's been through the whole 75 Hard, the Live Strong program, trust me, you have more time. You can squeeze more in. It just depends on your season. Okay, those are not lies; those are facts. Okay, when you say you don't have time, when you say you need balance, when you say you'll do it later, those are not facts. Those are lies. Those are also decisions that you are making. All right, those are your decisions that you are making. And I'm not saying that you have to go extreme, but I am saying you have to be honest with yourself. Are you actually pushing? Or are you protecting your comfort? That wonderful comfort zone that's so cozy that it's like staying in your comforter in the morning when it's cold outside, right? But here's the part that matters the most. If you're going to release the dog, you have to do it with control. This is not something that you do recklessly. It's not something that you do randomly. This has got to be focused. You got to know what you're building. You got to know what matters. And you got to know where your time should go. And then you have to execute. The most important part of this part is executing on it. So if you've not done the vision work, if you're in the association, we've got all the vision worksheets that you can do. That was extremely helpful in getting you there. That's a really important thing that maybe you should do right now if you are in the association. But once you have all that, this is where the systems come in, right? Because intensity without systems, that's what leads to burnout. Okay. But intensity with systems, that's what creates the freedom. That's what creates the leverage that we were talking about. And that's the goal. Not to grind forever, not to hustle endlessly, not to go hard for a defined, but to go hard for a defined period of time and not forever. And this is so you can build something that eventually doesn't require it. That's the point. And that's how you become some founder that is optional at some point. Okay. And that's how you build a firm that runs without you. And that's where you create the actual real flexibility in your life and in your firm. Most people never get there, unfortunately. They never really go through that phase in their life. They never really push hard enough for long enough to create that. Okay. And that's what I want you to do. All right. So here's kind of what I think. This is sort of my challenge to you. I want you to think about if you went all in for the next 6 months or 12 months. Okay, so let's say that that's your season. I mean, I'm talking about you cut out all the stuff that you shouldn't be doing. You focus just on building. Like, what could you build? Think about it. Like, what actually, if you could do this, if you did this, what could you actually build? And what would your firm look like in 6 months or in 12 months, in 5 years? And because of that, what would your life look like on the other side of it? Okay. And I'm not telling you to do anything that's going to jeopardize any relationships with your family or your spouse. I'm not telling you that. Okay. That's got to be a consideration in this too, but they also have to be all in with you. Okay. That's something that you need to bring them along for this decision, for this journey. But on the other side of that, of that 6 months or that 12 months, that version of you will exist. It just requires you to make that decision. Okay. And I think for a lot of you listening, you already know, or those of you watching too, I think you already know. You know you've got more to give. You know you're holding back a little bit, and you know that there's this other level that you haven't tapped into, and I want you to tap into it. And so maybe, just maybe, this is the moment. This is right here. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe where you stop negotiating with yourself, and maybe you start easing into it. Okay. Maybe it's one of those things where it doesn't have to be just right away. I do want you to flip that switch, but maybe just kind of ease into it this week, and then ultimately make that decision next week where, hey, I'm going to do this. Let's rock and roll. And where you stop waiting for the right time. Just decide for a season, okay, you're going to release the dog. Because if you do that right, if you do it right, and you won't have to do it forever, then you might build something that you really, really never thought you could. And that's what I want for you. All right. That's all I have for you today. Hopefully you got something out of this episode. If you're interested in the association, go to MaximumLawyer.com. If you're interested, or if you want to find the best vendors around, go to beccaslist.co. That's where you can find the best vendors. You can rate, review, all of that good stuff. So make sure you go to beccaslist.co. Check it out. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and I hope your season starts right now. See you.